Hi guys, welcome to my video blog on our museum trip. I would like to start out by talking about gait and the environment. The way a person moves and controls their gait is very dependent on the environment that surrounds them. It is normally natural for us to base our emotions off our environment. So, for instance, some of these natural adjustments include uh, increased duration strides, smaller steps, and taking wider steps. So the first exhibit I would like to talk about is the Maasai lion hunt, and let's use the picture right here. The Maasai people in this picture are warriors and are semi-nomadic people from Kenya and Tanzania region. Lion hunting is a long-standing tradition that is still present today, and as you can see in the picture, the two models that are furthest from the lion here are in a hunched over position. Their knees are slightly bent, they're flexed at the trunk, elbows are bent to hold their weapons, and have some cervical flexion at the neck. This puts them in a quote unquote ready position to react to anything around them, such as a lion popping out of the brush to attack them. If they were to be standing upright with their legs extended, then they wouldn't be able to react as quickly because they would have to first flex slightly and then propel themselves away from the lion. They also have to, or they also have one of their arms with slight shoulder extension reaching behind because they need to be ready to throw their spear at a moment's notice. So when they're moving in this ready position, it is likely that they have increased stride duration times because they want to be quiet and they want to sneak up on their target. The majority of the time, the Maasai people will hunt in groups, so they're going to probably alter and go back and forth from this mostly flexed, crouched position to quick to make quick, rapid, explosive movements, but then return until they kill their prey or target. Um, Aside from the broad concept of being around wild animals, the Maasai hunting environment has a much different influence on how people hunt compared to the environment that I'm familiar with. In fact, there's little movement at all, actually. Generally, when hunting an environment near me, there are fewer animals capable of even killing or seriously injuring me. And on top of that, most of the hunting in my environment is done with long-range weapons, which also aids in the ability to not move slowly, not as big of a deal, and sometimes not move at all. It's more stationary. Um, these two factors combined pretty much lead to a stationary, more or less, quote, hunt. Um, the second thing that I would like to talk about is how posture and culture relate together. And as I walked around the museum, I observed the different styles of culture and how they may influence one's posture. The culture, it'll create tendencies in the curvature of, or the curvature of how it is, the spine appears. And in many ways, culture can affect a person's posture. But one of the more notable things that I noticed was the Japanese culture has created a unique style of sitting. And in this picture, as you can see, the woman is sitting with her legs or her knees flexed so that her ankles are tucked and supinated underneath her. Generally, this style of sitting is used when eating with family. In this picture specifically, they're playing cards, or I even read that in theaters that there's sections for they're sitting like this. And to do this, they need to have large range of motion and plantar flexion, which causes a lot of tension force that really stretches out the dorsiflexors and uh, such as the tibialis anterior, um, extensor hallucis longus, and extensor digitorum. This allows them to sit on their heels in a more flat position, similar to the ground, and that also allows them to have more anterior tilt of the pelvis. If someone were unable to stretch their ankle to that extent, this that this Japanese woman can, then they would likely have more of a forward or like slightly increased or forward lean, slightly increased like thoracic kyphosis and decreased lumbar lordosis. In the culture that I was raised in, it is much more common to use chairs as I'm sitting on one right now, and just like they do with the dinner table, we would sit on chairs playing board game. We'd likely sit on chairs as well. And of course, watching a movie, you've been to a theater before, you sit on a chair. So for someone like me that has not acquired this same flexibility in the ankle that the this Japanese woman possesses, there would have to be some compensation. And to compensate for the lack of flexibility in their ankles, someone may slide their feet out or slide their feet out from underneath them and laterally to the sides. And in this way, they're able to place their bottom directly on the ground, which takes a lot of the pressure off of their ankles. However, in this position, there's more of a posterior pelvic tilt, making it more difficult to maintain that upright posture. Um, so one of the main purposes of this museum trip was to observe how different cultures and environments would affect posture and gait. And it really seemed like it was a concept that I could grasp simply by thinking about it, but actually having a visual and or the exhibits in front of me helped pick out the extra environmental and cultural factors that I would have probably not conjured up on my own. And for example, I in the Eskimo exhibit, I definitely could have thought that, they're around ice more often, so they're gonna need to avoid slipping, and they're gonna probably take smaller steps. However, it wasn't until it actually was there that I saw that, they have all these layers of clothing on. I was like, wow, it slips your mind. So uh, I don't know, it's these types of observations that I feel as a physical therapist, it is important that I become good at and better at and continue improving so I can look at a whole situation rather than what just seems obvious to me. So it helped me, it kind of gave me an aha realization moment. But um, well, guys, thanks for listening, and see you in class.